Meeting to order the August 18th, 2022 meeting of the Sacramento Flood Control Agency Board of Directors. Would the clerk please call the roll and state your message?
Thank you. Director Condemn?
Present.
Director Burns?
Here.
Director Lee Reeder?
Present.
Director Holloway?
Present.
Director Shaw?
Here.
Director Ashby? Vice Chairman Harris? Director Jennings? Director Desmond?
Here.
Director Frost?
Here.
Chairman Kennedy?
Here.
Director Natoli? Director Cerna?
Here.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting of SAFCA is being recorded on Metro Cable Channel 14 and will be re-aired on Saturday, August 20th at 2 p.m. The videos will also be on SAFCA's website within 48 hours after the meeting. And just as a reminder, I will mute your microphones unless you are speaking. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next slide, please. Thank you. Chairman Kennedy, I have not received any public comments for items not listed on the agenda outside of the two RON notices.
Right. Is there any member of the public who would like to address the board on an item not listed on the agenda, which would preclude any of the special or separate matters, number 8 and 9? But other than that, is there anything not on the agenda that the public would like to address the board on at this time? Okay, hearing none. Next item.
Consent matters, items 1 through 5 are in order.
Move to approve, Conant.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Conant, a second by Director Holloway. Are there any public comments on this item?
I have not received any.
I'm assuming is there any comment from any member of the board? Hearing none, please call the roll for the consent matters.
Thank you. Director Conant?
Aye.
Director Burns?
Aye.
Director Lee Reeder?
Aye.
Director Holloway?
Aye.
Director Shaw?
Aye.
Director Ashby? Vice Chairman Harris?
Yes.
Thank you, Director Ashby. Director Jennings? Director Desmond?
Aye.
Director Frost?
Aye.
Chairman Kennedy?
Aye.
Director Natoli? And Director Cerna?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes with 10-member approval.
Thank you. Next item.
Separate matters, item 6 is a resolution of appreciation number 2022-093, recognizing Nadine Ann Bradford for her contributions to the Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency.
Hey, good afternoon, members of the board. Rick Johnson, Executive Director. Wanted to take a moment. Many of you may not have met Nadine, but she's retiring from SAFCA. She's been our face and voice of SAFCA on the phone and our receptionist since 2015. We wanted to just ask the board to consider approving this resolution of appreciation. Nadine's just been an excellent at helping not only the public but also us during COVID, during our incidents without the elevator, and during the move. She has just made it so that she's gone out of her way to help keep us moving forward and keep us functioning. And so we just wanted to take a moment to recognize her and thank her for all of her time and wish her luck in her new position. So with that, Nadine is on if she wants to say anything. And then I'd like to see if the board would approve the resolution there.
Nadine, are you there?
Yes, I am here, and I do want to say just a quick something. Basically, well, not so much basically, but it's truly been an honor to be a part of the team that works so hard to keep Sacramento safe. And it's been a pleasure working with each and every one of you. So thank you.
Thank you, Nadine. And the only question I have is how come your arrival photo, your current status photo, how did you get younger in your time at SAFCA? Because the rest of us haven't.
It's the people.
Well,
Good
thank you.
answer, right?
Thank you for your service to our community and to SAFCA in particular. It's greatly appreciated. You're one of the many who doesn't show up on these WebEx calls, but we know how much work you do to support us. And to, as you said very well, to help make the people of Sacramento safer. That's the thing about SAFCA. We tend to do things really well, but really quietly. And you'd be one of those. So we wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors. So thank you for your commitment.
Thank you very much.
And with that, is there a motion from the board?
Move to approve, Conant.
Frost, second.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Conant, a second by Director Frost. Please call the roll.
Thank you, Director Conant,
Aye.
Director Burns,
Aye.
Director Lee Reeder,
Aye.
Director Holloway,
Aye.
Director Shaw,
Aye.
Director Ashby, Vice Chairman Harris, Director
Congratulations, Nadine, and yes.
Thank you, Director Ashby. Director Desmond,
Aye.
Director Frost,
Aye.
Chairman Kennedy,
Aye.
Director Natoli.
Aye.
Thank you, Director Cerna.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes with 11-member approval.
Best of luck, Nadine. Thank you. Now, at this time, we're going to move into closed session. I take it we're going to have a message come up here.
Yes, you should see a pop-up window on your screen that you need to accept to go into closed session. Thank you.
And just to be crystal clear, don't click on that red X.
Don't click on that red X. And members
Yes.
of the public, we will be back as soon as closed session is finished.
Lindy, do you move us over if we're on the phone, or do we have to call in? Hey, Lindy?
Director Cerna, this is Alia Taib.
Oh, no,
yeah,
this
you
is
would need
Director
to call
Natoli.
in.
Okay, this is
Oh,
Don.
I apologize.
Okay. I need to call in? Different.
To establish a quorum. Director Conant,
Present.
Director Burns,
Here.
Director Lee Reeder,
Present.
Director Holloway,
Present.
Director Shaw.
Here.
Thank you. Director Ashby.
Here.
Thank you. Vice Chairman Harris, Director Jennings, Director Desmond,
Here.
Director Frost,
Here.
Chairman Kennedy. Chairman Kennedy. I see him. Director Natoli.
Here.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Director Natoli. Director Cerna.
Here.
We do have a quorum of 10 members.
Okay, thank you very much. At this
Next
point,
slide,
is there anything council would like to report out from closed session?
Next slide, please, Alia. Alia, can you hear me? Next slide, please. I apologize. I can go ahead with, let me pull up my agenda and I can do the report out. Government Code Section 54956.8, conference with real property negotiators. Property at 5333 East Levy Road, Sacramento, California, 95835. Sacramento County APN 226-0020-005. Negotiating party, Richard Cunha, on behalf of Sandra K. Cunha, successor trustee of the Kenneth and Mary Lou Kayoka Family 1983 Revocable Trust, dated April 29th, 1983.
This is Jeremy Goldberg, Agency Counsel. Nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. Government Code Section 54956.8, conference with real property negotiators. Property at 1015 Rio Lane, Sacramento, California, 95822. Sacramento County APN 016-0161-035. Negotiating party, Randall Boreen.
This is Jeremy Goldberg, Agency Counsel. Nothing to report at this time.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Thank you. The next item is the Executive Director's Report for August 18th, 2022. And Rick, just to let you know, Alia's rebooting. She had a crash. So we'll be able to advance your slides momentarily.
Okay, well, thank you. I'll get started without them then. One thing I did want to I mentioned it at the executive committee, but SAFCA contracts with Sacramento County to do a number of items for us, including our email. And so the Sac County is changing their email system. So our email now, if you need to get a hold of us, is instead of saccounty.net, will be saccounty.gov. The rest of it's all the same. So I just want to remind everybody about that. And I know we're in the process of switching over. It's kind of playing a little bit of havoc with some of our computer operations. So apologize for that. So recently the governor released his California water supply strategy, talking about the drought. Ali, if you go to the next slide, please. And then you've probably all seen a lot of the stories. Most of the media picked up on the arc storm, the mega flood in California. The reason I wanted to mention that is they both came out within just a few days of each other, and they're highlighting what we are seeing is we're seeing more of the extremes every year, whether it be a dry or a wet. Now, the media focused most of their articles on the mega flood, but Ali, if you go to the next slide, I did want to bring up this one graphic from the study to kind of show what is probably more what we'll experience a little more often. So what this is a graphic that shows the three lines. The top one, that's kind of a greenish silver one, is the 50-year storm. The green one in the middle is 100-year, and the bottom one is the 200-year storm. And what they're graphing here is the probability of occurrence as the temperature climbs. So when the study started, way over on the left, the 50-year storm, the return, it was a 1 in basically at 50 years, the event period that we always talk about. But we've already, in 2022, we've already gone over a degree more. And so now it's more like about a 35-year event. And then if you follow that all the way out to what if we hit 4.5 degrees, it would be closer to a 10-year event. And so, and then looking at the 100-year, back when the study started, it was 100-year. Now it's more like about a 60-year event. Yeah. So, you know, I don't know how accurate these projections are, but they are indicating that we are going to see these less frequent events more frequently. In other words, we got to deal with larger flood events more often. So what are we doing about it? Ali, if you go to the next slide. So just a reminder, we do have our 6 projects that are under construction, either essentially complete or currently under construction, rebuilding most of the system except for the Yolo bypass. And then, Allie, if you go to the next slide, and this one just shows the current status construction. The green lines show the areas that are essentially completed. The red lines approximate the areas that are under construction, and then the dark blue lines are the areas that are going to be awarded in the federal fiscal year 23-24. And just a reminder, the federal fiscal year starts October 1st, so it's about a month and a half away. So our current set of projects get us over the 200-year event and maybe closer to 300 years. So if you go to the next slide, Alia. So back in 2017, we did put together and present to the board a comprehensive flood risk reduction program to talk about next steps to get us to 500-year level protection. And next slide, please, Alia. So we've kind of taken the program in chunks right after the 86 flood event. Work was done to restore and address some of the immediate deficiencies and to reoperate Folsom to give us a little more flood protection. Then through 2025, we're trying to get that work for the 200-year done. And then our next tranche of projects, some of which are under construction, some of which we're planning for, will get us to the 500-year. And we're picking 500-year because it'll give us the additional flexibility and resiliency into the system that will help us deal with these larger flood events. So next slide, please, Alia. So basically, the 500-year program has three components. One is additional storage upstream of Folsom Dam on the American River watershed. We're working with Placer County Water Agency and SMUD. They own three reservoirs, Union Valley, Hellhole, and French Meadows. We're working with them to look at some additional outlet modifications that need to be done and operation, a flood forecast type of operation for those. That's going forward. And then on the Lower American River, when we did the levee work under part of Common Features 96-99, the levees were made so they can handle 160,000 releases. Current objective release from Folsom is 115,000. One component that still needed to be done was to protect against erosion at those flows in the banks and up against the levees. And so that is part of the American River Common Features 2016 work that is currently being constructed. And then at the mouth of the American River, when it goes to Sacramento River, we've got to be able to move that water over to the Yolo bypass. And so that's the Fremont or the Sacramento Weir and Sacramento bypass that are being widened as part of Common Features 2016. And then the other is looking at widening the Fremont Weir and the Yolo bypass. And that is a future study we're going to be done. So next slide, Teralia. So basically where we're at on this is we've been working with Bureau of Reclamation. Around the end of August, they're supposed to release American River Basin Study. One of the alternatives examined there was basically our upstream storage alternative, where we would move that water as part of a flood-informed reservoir operation in those three reservoirs, and then where possible, move them down into a groundwater aquifer recharge ahead of large flood events to create additional space to handle those floods. And we're working with Reclamation on what else we need to do to seek whatever congressional authorization they'll need to help make that implementable. On Hellhole Dam and Reservoir, we've advanced it to the point now where we're ready to do the final design and go to construction. Those are non-federal reservoirs, so we're working with the state to look for funding to help implement that. Next slide, Alia. As part of the dam raise study, they are going to put together a new water control manual for the raise at Folsom, and we're working with the Corps to make sure that there's provisions in there that would allow us to move that upstream storage water ahead of large flood events down through Folsom. And then finally, the Yolo Bypass Comprehensive Study, there is federal funding to start that study in 23. So if you go to the next slide, Alia, so talking about the federal funding, the House of Representatives passed the appropriation bill for fiscal year 23, which starts again October 1st in July 20th. Now the Senate They have not moved it as far. In fact, towards the end of July, they just barely released their what their draft appropriation bill looks like. But next slide, Alia, please. So both the House and Senate bills had $500,000 and a new study start for YOLO for FY23. So that's good for us. And both bills had 173 million almost for construction on the Thomas. Next slide, please, Alia. The House bill, thanks to Congresswoman Matsui, she got written in almost 38 million to start construction on the temperature control shutters up at Folsom. The Senate did not include it in theirs, though Senator Padilla did try to advance it on our behalf. Next slide, Alia. So now the Senate still has to pass the bill. The way it's looking right now, it's probably going to be well after the fiscal year and maybe into next calendar year. But once it gets passed, then they'll have to work out the differences and get it passed again before it goes to President. So we're guessing we're not going to actually see the appropriations for a while on FY23. So next slide, Alia. So then also on the Water Resources Development Act, we had requested the authority to be extended that allows us to move our excess credit from the Thomas to Common Features 2016. It's currently set to expire in June of 2024. Next slide, please, Alia. So the Senate, they did pass their WARDA bill. All of that stuff in there isn't too important other than the part in yellow where they struck subsection D. That was the line that set the expiration date. So the Senate took care of it by removing the date. Ali, if you go to the next slide, the House also passed their bill. They addressed it a little bit differently. They extended it through December 31st of 2026. Next slide, please, Alia. So either one works for us. We think that it's very unlikely the Corps will be through all the work that they have to do to turn over and close out the projects by 2026. So with the House version, we'll probably have to go back and get another extension. So at this point, we'd favor the Senate version. So next slide, Alia. So again, they'll have to work out the differences, and but it seems like that one's on track to be done before the end of the calendar year. So that's all I had, and I'll take any questions.
Any questions? I guess I only have one, Rick, is so on that issue of, yeah, I agree with you. We would like to get, I mean, it's just why not get rid of the date altogether? I take it we've reached out to not only our congressional delegation, but those that are in the appropriate committees and so forth.
Yes, we've been working with them. To be honest with you, the House side, they don't like the whole concept of the extra credit and moving it. So they kind of want to see that authority die. So I think that's why they're putting timelines on it so that others don't start using it. I think that's where they're at. I don't think they feel comfortable having the ability to have such a large amount of money out there that kind of gets moved around for some reason. Yeah, but they also are willing to work with us, and they know that we're working successfully on this one. So they'll keep us going. It's just whether we have to keep doing it or not. There.
Okay. Thank you, and just let us know if our individual jurisdictions can be of any help.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, Madam Clerk, next.
Excuse me. The next item is separate matters. Item 8, public hearing, resolution of necessity number 2022-094, authorizing an eminent domain action to condemn real property interests for the American River Common Features 2016 Flood Risk Management Project, Sacramento River East Levee, easement interest acquisition over portions of Sacramento County Assessor's parcel number 016-0160-035, property owners Randolph M. Boreen Trust, Leslie Stewart Separate Trust, Mark Stewart Separate Trust, Laura Stewart Separate Trust, and Kathleen A. Worley Revocable Living Trust. Pursuant to Section 12450.240 of the California Code of Civil Procedure, this item does require a 2/3 or 9-member approval to pass the resolution.
Thank you. As Mr. DeGrota?
Good afternoon, directors. Matt DeGroat, Real Estate Program Manager with SAFCA. At this time, staff recommends that we continue this item for 3 more months while we continue to work with the property owner.
Oh, things change quickly, don't they? Okay, are there any questions of Mr. DeGrota at this time? Any questions of any other staff, Mr. Goldberg or others? All right, then, Mr. Goldberg, then if we're going to act upon the recommendation of staff, then we do not need to open the public hearing, correct?
That's correct.
Thank
We
you.
would need to take a vote to continue the item.
Yes, yeah. Okay. Is there is there a member of the public that would like to address this at this time, keeping in mind that we are likely, though I do not know, but we are likely to continue this for 3 months, which gives an opportunity for more discussions. And of course, it would come back to the board and there would be another opportunity to address the board at that time with more relevant information. So is there that, with that large caveat, is there anyone from the public that has any comments on at this time? Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion?
Move to
Conant,
continue.
move
Frost.
to approve staff recommended action of delaying it for 3 months.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Conant for 3-month continuance. Throw out the seconds again. They're all on top of each other. Who's that?
Desmond.
Okay. We have a second by Director Desmond. Please call the roll.
Thank you, Director Conant.
Aye.
Director Burns.
Aye.
Director Lee Reeder.
Aye.
Director Holloway.
Aye.
Director Shaw.
Aye.
Director Ashby.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Harris. Director Jennings. Director Desmond.
Aye.
Director Frost.
Aye.
Chairman Kennedy.
Aye.
Director Natoli. Director Natoli. Director Cerna.
Aye.
Motion passes with 10-member approval to continue this item.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Pardon me, I'm going to have to just skip a bunch of slides here. Item number 10, resolution number of necessity number 2022095, authorizing an eminent domain action to condemn real property interest for the Reach H component of Phase 4B of the Natomas Levee Improvement Project, interest acquisitions over portions of Sacramento County Assessor's Parcel Number 226-00200005, property owners Sandra K. Cunha, successor trustee of the Kenneth and Mary Lou Kayoka Family 1983 Revocable Trust dated April 29th, 1983, and again pursuant to Section 12450-240 of the California Code of Civil Procedure, this item requires a 2/3 or 9-member approval to pass the resolution.
Thank you. Mr. DeGroat.
Good afternoon again, directors. Matt DeGroat, Real Estate Program Manager with SAFCA. And as mentioned, this presentation is for resolution necessity number 2022-095 for property located at 5333 East Levee Road, north of Del Paso Road in the Natomas Basin area of Sacramento County, California. Acquisition of the property is required for the Natomas East Main Drainage Canal, West Levee, Reach H component of Phase 4B of the project. Okay, next slide. So what we have here is a map of the Natomas Levee Improvement Project reaches. And this is for Reach H, which is down toward the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Next slide, please. Here we have a map of the property located at 5333 East Levee Road. And you can see it is at the very top of Reach H toward the top right-hand corner of the exhibit there. Okay, next slide. And here is a sketch showing the levee improvements along Reach H. The utility infrastructure must be relocated as a result of the project improvements, which include installing cutoff walls, lining the landside levee slope, and construction of an operation and maintenance road on the land side of the levee. So here we have an exhibit of the property itself and the proposed acquisition, which is an electrical and communications facilities easement. So the proposed acquisition is a 10-foot strip there in red, just adjacent to the levee and the operation and maintenance road that was constructed as part of the project. And the acquisition is a fairly small acquisition. It's actually very small, to 0.115 acres of property. Okay, next slide, please. So attachment D for D3 of the staff report is a project description and the necessity for the acquisition, environmental compliance documents and considerations in selecting the mitigation sites, and design analysis for the relocated irrigation and drainage canal. On October 8th of 2019, Ben Rosenthal, or BRI, the Reach H appraiser, sent a letter to the property owners advising them that the state and SAFCA were preparing an appraisal for an easement over a portion of their property. On June 19th of 2020, SAFCA provided a formal offer to purchase the property rights, which consisted of a permanent electrical and communications facilities easement across a strip of land located on the east side of the property for the full fair market value as determined by BRI's appraisal. Next slide, please. Attachment G is a diary of the discussions between SAFCA's right-of-way acquisition consultant and the owner, during which they discussed the potential effects of the project on the property and the requirement that the interest in the property would need to be acquired to support the project and the right-of-way process that would take place. And it was based on these discussions with the owners that SAFCA then reduced the area of land that was required for the proposed easement. And on October 4th of 2021, SAFCA presented a revised offer to purchase the reduced area of the property. However, we were not able to reach an agreement with that reduced area at this time. So on July 29th of 2020, SAFCA then mailed a written notice to the owners of the property advising them that this board would hold a meeting today at this time to consider the adoption of a resolution of necessity to acquire the property rights by eminent domain. Next slide, please, Wendy. Or Elliot. On August 8th of 2022, the clerk of the board did receive an email from the owners advising that they did intend to appear today at this meeting to provide comments. Okay, next slide, please. So here we have just the legal description for the proposed permanent electrical and communication facility easement. Next slide, please. And here we have the plat that is accompanying that legal description for that proposed easement. So at this time, we did reduce the area that was required for the easement. However, we have not been able to come to an agreement with the property owners, and we do feel this time that we have run into an impasse. So, which is why we are bringing this item before the board today for its consideration. And I'm able to take any questions you have at this time.
Just one question, Matt Counter here. So I noticed the easement that we're buying doesn't go all the way across the property. Is that, we don't need it for the rest of it? The electrical,
the easement The original acquisition did go up to the top of the property line. However, it was with those discussions with the property owner that we then reduced it down to what you see here on the screen. So while that top portion would have been very beneficial in the future, it wasn't absolutely required for the project in front of us. So we felt we could reduce it down for the owner's concerns that he wanted, that we needed to acquire exactly what was required for the property. So we accommodated that, and we then reduced the area to be acquired.
So you think in the future we may have to get the other 150 feet of 10 feet wide? Possibly.
Potentially.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. There's no other questions from the board. Then at this time, I will open up the public hearing. Is there a member or members of the public that would like to address the board at this time on this item?
Yes, I would like to address the board, Supervisor Kennedy. My name is Richard Cunha, representing Ken Kyoka and Ken Kyoka, Mary Lou Kyoka Trust. They are my father-in-law and mother-in-law. Ken is 97 years old, unable to attend. Mary Lou is deceased.
Go ahead.
Okay. This has been an ongoing project for the last 2 years, and having heard the comments made, I think it bears some input as to why it has taken this long and why we have not come to an agreement. And it isn't simply about a dollar amount, which we're not talking about today, and it's simply not about a 10-foot easement, which is now 500 feet long, but it took a year to reduce it to 500 feet from 650 feet. So if I could have some time to explain to you, I would like to go through. I don't know if all of you have been able to read through the diary that was alluded to, which is attachment G, I believe, to your materials. It contained some of the conversations, and some of them have been edited between myself and Steve Harris of OP Services, who I believe is employed by SAFCA to acquire properties up and down the necessary construction areas. So I think it's best that I give you, as brief as I can make it, background and why I feel that this matter still needs to be discussed and come to some resolution.
Mr. Cunha, if I might just, we are, and I understand that you have some issues with exactly what the record that has been presented, but just keep in mind that we have met on this on more than one occasion as a board, and we do have the materials. So I'm not discouraging you in any way. This is your forum. You have the right to approach the board. I just want to. You used the word briefly, and if we could try not to repeat the record over the years, that would be appreciated.
Well, I'm going to try and quote unquote briefly through the matter.
Thank you.
I'm not sure that you have, and I did not see in your agenda packet how this whole situation started. However, back in May of 2020, my father-in-law received in his mailbox a note from INQUIP that the project on East Levy Road in front of his home, which is right across the road from the East Main Drain pump station, the road was going to be shut down, the levee was going to be torn down, et cetera, et cetera. And the work was going to begin in 6 days. There's a name at the bottom, or it says, if you have any questions, call Army Corps of Engineers. I did that on their behalf. And I talked to the public answer chief deputy, and he indicated he would get information and get back to me. On the 22nd of May, I received an email that said, and I asked if any of my father-in-law's property would be taken as a result of this work. I got an email back from him on May 22nd, 2020 that states, quote, no real estate / property will be taken at the above address, 5333 East Levy Road, as a result of the levee improvement project, end quote. Okay, put that in a file and still have it, and thought we were done with this. We would get through this closed road and the rehab of the levees. Approximately a month later, I was contacted by Mr. Harris indicating that he was interested in talking about the poles in front of the property and residents and trimming some trees for the electrical wires. That began our conversation. As one of the members just asked, why didn't you get the last 150 feet for an easement? That was the beginning of that conversation. Plans and verbiage went back and forth until September 25th, 2020, at which time I was told the poles were going to be moved and the easement was strictly for overhead lines. There were going to be no poles. There was going to be nothing on the Kyoka property. The 10-foot easement was strictly for overhead lines. At which point I said, well, then maybe the easement, standard language easement that you sent me that has all this other stuff should be modified. On October 21st, 2020, the project says poles are in place and they must be moved 3 feet east of the property line, which is not toward our property, but away from it. And it's necessary for them to be moved to accommodate overhead utility lines. Again, I question the easement language because it's so broad. It doesn't say property overhead lines. It just states standard easement for communication facilities. I asked and said, can we modify the easement? I asked Mr. Harris. He went back to whoever he spoke to, but it was not answered. December 18, 2020, I expressed concerns and language again if he would set up a call to discuss the language. December 21st, my call to Steve Harris talked about the last pole being across from the East Main Drain Pump Station. Why is the easement going past that last pole north? Why do we need crossbars instead of one-armed as are used along the Garden Highway and other public roads? Can we redo the documents? And we'd need insurance for the Kyokas if work is going to be performed. Mr. Harris indicated that he would check into all this and get back to me. And on February 1st, 2021, I was told by Mr. Harris that my request that the length of the easement be reduced by that 150 feet would not be done. Additionally, the redesign of the crossbars so they wouldn't enter onto the property and an easement wouldn't be necessary would not be done. No explanation why, just no. We became inactive in this matter for some time. August the 4th of 2021, I think Mr. Harris was out because he lived up in El Dorado County and the fires up there took him away. There was a new offer from him However, it was the same language. They're not taking 150 feet out. And they finally agreed that, okay, after 1 year, we're going to take the 150 feet out. We don't have a right to it at this time because there are no plans. So we'll cut back 150 feet. That took 1 year. The other changes, there was no reasoning as to why they could not be done. So up to this point, I've only been told we are having, the easement is needed for overhead lines. No poles, nothing on the property. In fact, the poles were to be moved to the east of the property. Then on July 22nd of this year, I received an email for the first time that said, the poles need to be moved a couple feet into the eastern side of the easement, which is a totally different scenario than we've been dealing with for 2 years. I talked to Mr. Harris again on August the 4th, and he said, I'll check out the design for the O&M road. I don't, cannot be modified, but I'll stay, see if they can stay in the current location. Well, unfortunately, you'd already sent out your letter of July 29, 2022, that we're going to have this hearing today. So that didn't go anywhere. And then yesterday, I received another letter from SAFCA wanting to get on the property to do other things. So I am really not sure at this point what you're asking. We have gone from no taking back in 2021 May, from 650 foot easement back to 500 foot easement. No explanation on why these cross arms cannot be reconfigured to accommodate the need to do away with this little easement that you're requesting. You have to understand that there are 3 poles in this 500 foot stretch. They are all along the east side of the property line now. To move them to the west, the power doesn't go to the west. They end at Mr. Kyoka's residence at the end of the run. It doesn't feed any place else except the pump station, which is to the east, and that goes underground. It makes no sense to me, and I can't understand why somebody can't come out. We can't meet, confer, and come to some real agreement as to how to make this work without going through all this. But the goalpost keeps moving on me from nothing, no taking, to taking 650, to taking 500, to not going on the property, to going on the property, to not going west, to going west, and everything's going east. As I said, this is supposedly for only overhead property lines, and to sign a standard easement deed that you have provided just is given a blank check. I mean, I don't think that anybody would say, yeah, you can come and buy my car and take everything else you can find around here. It's just not logical. It doesn't have common sense. I just think this needs to be looked at with fresh eyes, and somebody to say, yes, we're not going to endanger anybody with lines to the east, because that's where we're headed. If they have to come over to the east, there are 3 poles that we're dealing with, and they end at the corner of my father-in-law's residence. I would just ask to be treated with consideration in terms of, transparency and explanations as to why any suggestions have just met with no's, except for the reduction in the length of the easement. I'm happy to answer any questions about any of the items I brought up or anything that has any bearing on this project.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Cunha. Appreciate your time and thoughtfulness. Is there any other member of the public that is prepared to address the board on this issue at this time? Okay, hearing none, then I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. At this time, is there any discussion or questions or comments of the board? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion? All right, the chair will move staff's recommendation. Mr. Cunha, I appreciate your time and your thoughtful consideration and your your appearance here today. As I said, we have discussed this at length and been briefed by staff more than once. At this time, I am comfortable with moving ahead with staff recommendation. And is there a second?
Come on a second.
I have a motion, a second. Is there any other comments from the board?
Chair Kennedy, this is Director Untitled. I'm sorry, my phone went back to mute. Just again, we've been briefed over time. Is there anything though that staff would add? Again, we went through quite an extensive timeline. Obviously, there's been some changed requirements over time, I guess, and I just didn't know if there was anything staff could add. Certainly, this is all in the public domain, but there's negotiations for the property that's being sought, but in easements. But I just wondering, without belaboring this, I know that hours late here, but I would just ask if there's anything staff could add to the conversation. So I think it's just not just left beyond that we've been briefed. So I would ask that.
Mr. DeGroat?
Yeah,
Or anybody else that's appropriate?
So I can add to one of the later parts of Mr. Cunha's discussion there. The road needs to be, O&M road needs to be widened. Well, when it was constructed, it was not constructed to the proper width to allow for the O&M of that levee. So the equipment cannot make it up that O&M road in its current width. So to that point, that is why we would need to relocate those poles onto the property to widen that O&M road correctly. And I'll turn it over to John Bassett if he has anything else he would like to say.
Mr. Bassett.
Chair Kennedy, John Bassett, Director of Engineering. With regard to the answer Mr. Cunha received from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, their mapping that they send out for the required footprint for the project, that's what they would be looking at to answer Mr. Cunha's question, does not identify the utility relocations that are required as a result of building the flood control improvements. So SAFCA has to take the maps that the Corps gives us and then add the requirements for the utilities that have to be relocated, typically adjacent to the flood control improvements. So I believe that's why he was told originally by the Corps that they didn't show anything on their mapping. And that was because they were looking at their mapping and not the state and SAFCA mapping that is required for the utility relocations.
John, can I ask you, this is Director Tolley. So again, this isn't the last work that the Corps is going to be doing. And again, we've taken the lead on this project, and obviously it has, some essential flood protection components to it. But I guess, is there a way that the Corps, because I think that, as Mr. Cunha pointed out, he took that as being good information, and it may have been correct in the time and space that was asked, but it wasn't the full story, and there's no way that SAFCA or the state requirements would have been known at the time. there a way that they could qualify their answer so that a property owner who, again, has been diligent about, following this, either on their own behalf or having, others that would take up the matter through the course of negotiations, so that people can know that there might be a question in the future? Because again, as you've just confirmed what he said, that's what they told him. It wasn't necessarily inaccurate, but it wasn't the full story. And maybe that wouldn't be known till a later date as things are refined. But I do think that maybe they ought to qualify their response, because otherwise I could see where someone could feel like they were being misled, not intentionally even necessarily, but have we talked with the Corps about that?
Yes, we have recognized that, as Mr. Kuna said, this was several years ago that conversation was had. Since then, we have tried to make the Corps, particularly their public affairs office, aware that when they do get questions similar to this, they should ask the non-federal sponsors, in this case the state and SAFCA, to provide input to whatever answer is given out. So we've tried to move that ahead, since that time, and make sure that the locals have input into an answer concerning a process that, frankly, the Corps doesn't do. They leave it up to the state and SAFCA to go acquire the real estate. So we are the ones who should be answering those types of questions.
And have they agreed?
It's a work in progress, I should say.
Well, I guess I would just, maybe for Rick, it would seem to me that we ought to, again, we're the ones that ultimately have to take the action. Again, we're taking the lead on the projects, but that there ought to be stipulated in whatever our working agreement is, if work in progress or not, that going forward to eliminate confusion, and maybe this is a rare instance or not, but again, I know we work really hard as an agency to, be straightforward, to be accurate, and, to do everything we can to make sure property owners are aware of, what's being contemplated and, certainly their rights under the law, but also as we, sensitive to all the things that go with these types of negotiations. And I would think that if we're going to be the non-federal sponsor, that then it ought to be embedded in some stipulation that if you, the Corps, are giving this over to us, that, not just on a handshake deal, but this is understood. Because again, people come and go in those positions, and we're here for the long run, SAFCA, and certainly our staff. And and I know that John, Mr. DeGroot, yourself, and all of our staff work really hard to address issues and to be sensitive to ownership and to people's personal situations and their property and so forth. But I just think that there should be an understanding and an agreement, clear cut. Whoever's in charge at whatever agency, that's how how they do it. That if we're going to carry this forward, you make sure that your answers reflect, even if it's an unknown, reflect that in the answer. Because I think that's, again, we don't want people feeling like they're misled. I don't care how many years ago it was. And again, it wasn't intentional, but it wasn't accurate either. It wasn't the full story. So I don't know, Rick, could you? And again, I don't want to belabor this. I know that the chair's called for a motion, but this kind of hit a chord with me. So.
And Don, no, we understand. It's a getting the Corps to coordinate properly with the non-federal sponsor is probably the thing we spend the most time on, I would say, any particular issue over the years. So it's an ongoing discussion, and I agree with you. It's one that we do keep pushing that one.
Okay. Well, again, we need to memorialize it in writing from our board. I certainly would be one that would be interested in making sure that it was communicated very clearly beyond what you folks do to work as certainly the partners at your various levels in the organization. So, okay, that's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Natoli. Very good comments and concerns. Very legitimate. Any other comments?
Am I allowed to make another comment?
No, sir. This is the public hearing has been closed, and there's a motion on the table and a second. So at this time, I will call for the roll call vote.
Director Conan,
Aye.
Director Burns,
Aye.
Director Lee Reader,
Aye.
Director Holloway,
Aye.
Director Shaw,
Aye.
Director Ashby, Director Ashby, Vice Chairman Harris, Director Jennings, Director Desmond,
Aye.
Director Frost,
Aye.
Chairman Kennedy,
Aye.
Director Natoli,
Aye.
Director Cerna.
Aye.
Motion passes with 10-member approval.
Okay, thank you very much. That is our business for the day. Our next board meeting, as you can see, is September 15th. Thank you all for being here. And as I started the morning with the SACOG meeting, I will extend, I think on behalf of all of us and staff and the board members, our deep condolences to our colleague, Director Jennings, the loss of his father yesterday. And we will adjourn in his memory at this time. So this meeting's adjourned. Thank you.